What is up, everyone? Alex here with another champion skin tier list, this time on LeBlanc, everyone's favorite assassin burst mage. LeBlanc is one of those champions that I've always wanted to get really good with because her kit just seems really fun. She seems like she has a lot of tricks up her sleeves, and her entire kit is designed around deceiving people, tricking them, making them feel dumb, which, while very mean, is also very on brand for me. Character design-wise, she comes from a good place as well, because despite what Edna might say, I think capes are awesome. And that's not the most questionable decision that LeBlanc makes when it comes to her wardrobes. Between that and the fact that she can create a double of herself, there's a lot of severely inappropriate jokes that I could and desperately want to make, but I don't think YouTube is going to like that very much. Maybe one day. LeBlanc is also a weird champion to talk about when it comes to her skins because over half of them aren't available for whatever reason. Holiday skins, legacy skins, prestige, whatever you want to call it, a lot of them are just not available, which I don't think we've ever talked about a champion where that was the case. Something new I'm going to start doing with the tier list, starting with this one, is we're going to start placing base skin in D tier. I think this is going to give me a lot of extra room and spare space to just kind of space things out a little more, which I always find more interesting in a tier list anyway. First up, we have one of her two release skins. We have the prestigious LeBlanc. This one is the cheaper of the two at 520 RP, and surprisingly enough is not in the Legacy Vault, which actually does surprise me deeply, especially considering this skin really does not change anything other than her outfit, which admittedly looks pretty good. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not making inappropriate jokes like I said. I'm really trying to hold to that. I really do like the top hat though. I think it's very classy looking. I think the skin is good. I think it's an improvement on her base model as far as just looks go, but because it doesn't change anything as far as emotes, recalls, animations, effects, none of that, I really can't put it any higher than C tier, I think. Yeah. That being said, it is easily the better of her two release skins because now we have to talk about Wicked LeBlanc. Costs 750 RP and is an obvious reference to the Dalmatian Disney movies, Cruella de Vil, that kind of stuff. This is something you'll see with older League of Legends skins, just with blatant references like this. Nowadays, Riot is a little more subtle about these sorts of things. I guess they're just too cool to have to use such references. This one also just doesn't do anything new as far as emotes or animations or effects, but it also just makes her look really bad. I hate the hair and the jacket, and she just doesn't get to keep her cape either. Terrible. Goes in F tier. I'm not sorry about it. So this skin is actually going to be a personal favorite of mine. Thigh-high boots, a nice-looking cape, cool-looking staff, and something about LeBlanc with her hair down just does something to me. As is a running theme with her skins, though, this skin doesn't have anything else going on beyond the new look for LeBlanc. However, it is a legacy skin, so you can't buy it all the time, but because it's a Christmas-themed one, it's more than likely to show up in the store around December at 975 RP. Like I said, I like the skin quite a bit, but it doesn't do anything beyond giving LeBlanc a new, admittedly better look to her, so I think we're going to be looking at B tier, and a lot of that is nostalgia, I'm not going to lie. Another legacy skin, but this time it's going to be Halloween flavored with Ravenborn. Now, Ravencroft over here just looks fucking evil, but that fun, sexy evil where you'd let her ruin your life. I'm not projecting, you're projecting. And shut up. Ravenclaw here gets a new recall as well, with the raven on top of her staff coming to life and cawing while she flips her cloak around a little bit. Not the most dramatic of changes when it comes to recall, sure, but we're really working with slim pickings here. We do actually get some changes when it comes to her spells as well, with them getting a ghostly look to them. It kind of reminds me of spell effects that you'd find with champions like Viego and Mordekaiser. A decent change up from her base look, but honestly, I think I just like her normal spell effects just a little bit more anyway. Still, when it comes to the visuals for this one, she reminds me a lot of the Matron of Ravens, and that is also really sick. I think we're going to place this one into B tier. I just have to think we're about to see some higher quality skins here soon. Ravenholm was also going to be my last reference I was going to make, but I just couldn't find a place for it in the script. If you caught all those references and knew where they all came from, let me know in the comments. I'm trying to figure out who the real nerds are here. Okay, so we're going to get to the skin here in just a second, but I read the little flavor text that goes along with the skin's release. So there's some serious lore here that involves another one of her skins that we're going to look at here in a little bit, the Coven LeBlanc skin. So the story goes like this. The Coven comes into power, you know, as they do. Covens, right? So the Coven comes into power, starts invading and corrupting the forest until a lone forest spirit stands in the way. Now, not only does this lone forest spirit stand in the way and stop them, but she absolutely destroys them, steals LeBlanc's identity. So this isn't even LeBlanc anymore, and that's an insane origin story, and it's just fucking rad as hell. She's also green with red hair, making her a pretty direct reference to Poison Ivy. So now I just need fan art of her and Heartseeker Jinx, hanging out for science, obviously, no other reason. Anyway, back to the actual skin. She has this pixie kind of vibe to her with these cool insect wings style cloak that she wears. We actually get to see this in use during her recall. She gets a new staff with a flower on the end. Her spell effects get some changes as well. They get some new pink and green visuals to them. You can see some mushroom and flower style effects as well. LeBlanc suffers a little bit in the spell effects department just because she doesn't have any crazy, huge, flashy abilities or an ulti to really take advantage of changes like this. Honestly, though, I'm leaning towards A tier on this one. I think it does enough to get it there, and I think the lore behind it is so sick, and I'm a sucker for comic book references as well, so what are you gonna do? So if we're going off of splash art alone, the skin looks really good. That look on her face in the splash art gives me such a rogue AI evil Cortana vibe, and I am so here for it. Holograms also make a lot of sense for LeBlanc because of her passive, so I can see where Riot was coming from when it comes to the skin, but I think a few things fell flat here. She gets a new voice filter, sure, but is it just me or does she sound really incomprehensible to anybody else? It's just really hard to understand what she's saying. It could be the fact that I'm like half deaf, but it still just does not sound very good. I also don't like her armor very much. Something about casters and mage style champions in big clunky looking armor just never sits well for me. I do like her staff though. The pyramid floating around on top of it looks really cool. Another example of something that I like some aspects of it and then hate other aspects of it is her recall. I don't like how her recall has her ripping off the collar of her cloak, which it turns out that's just like an iPad that she uses to port back to base. It's something that once you know that's why it's there, it just looks really silly and goofy. However, something I like about this recall is that during the animation for it, her holographic head switches between various skins that we've seen before, which I think is a really cool touch, and I think it's awesome that it's here. The skin also does have some pretty decent spell effects as well, but I feel like for every step or two the skin takes forward, it takes the same amount of steps backwards. It kind of feels unfinished. I don't think it's worth the 1350 RP cost either. It's not a failure. I don't think it's a terrible skin, but I like most of what we've seen so far more anyway, and I think everything we see after this is going to be better for the most part. I think I have to put this in D tier. White and black is by far one of my favorite color combos of all time. This might be obvious, but they just kind of complement each other very well. LeBlanc as a gothic blonde girl is also just very peak as well. She really goes through hair dye, huh? How many girls do you know can go from dark hair to red and then blonde and manage to pull it off every single time? I have to tell you, I haven't met too many who could. So League does this thing where every time they hold Worlds and a team wins, they create a skin line based around that team. This one is to celebrate Invictus Gaming's win in 2018. Now, I did have to look that up because I am not at all plugged into the competitive League scene. Now, when it comes to this kind of genre of skins, for lack of a better word, I think Invictus Gaming has my favorite ones. I really like the overall vibe and aesthetic that these went for. I really like the cloak on this one, especially because they remind me of crow wings, which, fun fact, is my favorite animal. Be sure to write this down. It's going to be on the test at the end. She also has these shadow-like particles that just kind of drift off of her while she's just hanging around being hot. She gets a new recall that has her claiming her trophy, complete with the pro player's signature. Again, looking it up, but it's some nerd who will always be much better at League than I'll ever be, named Rookie. Her spell effects use an incredible combo of shadowy spell effects that blend the white and black colors really well together and showcase the Invictus logo on her Q. You also get to see some feathers blended in as well. All in all, this is an incredible skin, and despite the fact that it can only be bought around the time of Worlds, for 1350 RP, this is actually my favorite LeBlanc skin, so it's going to get my S tier. I can't think that this is going to be a hot take because the skin looks incredible. So we don't actually get this too often, but here we have a prequel skin here with this one. This loser skin eventually gets killed off by Elderwood LeBlanc and gets her identity stolen, and that brings us to our ad for the day with NordVPN. I'm 1,000% kidding. I'm not cool enough to get ad reads. Are we joking? But that segue was not terrible, I don't think. The skin almost looks like a more shined up version of her Ravenborn skin, which is a good or a bad thing, depending on how you like aesthetics like that. We get a very cool, almost Maleficent-inspired recall with her looking at an honestly sinister-looking mirror. Try not to make any deals with it or break it, because I just have to imagine it's not going to play well for you either way. Her spell effects also use these golden, feathery looking effects to them. LeBlanc really does have this whole theme going on with her and birds. What is this, like the third skin we've looked at where birds are a major theme to it? I'm not going to complain because I love me some birds and they're using ravens and crows a lot, which I enjoy. LeBlanc's voice acting already kind of sides on the side of evil-ish. The voice filter on this one really just amps it up to a whole new level. There's a lot to the skin, and it has the standard price of $1,350 RP. I think we're going to set it in A tier, but with this one out of the way, we have to move on to the prestige version of it. So, gold and silver is another cool color combo that is really hard to fuck up, and I know what you're thinking, but actually don't think this skin fucks it up. It looks good, it's a little shiny and bright for my taste, but it does look good. There are a few slight changes in the spell effects between this one and the regular Coven one, but usually when it comes to prestige skins, it's a lot of more of the same, but sparkly. These always kind of remind me of like shinies from Pokemon or just a souped up chroma. Another thing with these skins is that they're just really hard to get. You have to hope you have some mythic essence handy or grind to get it when the skin becomes available. Otherwise, you're just kind of having your fingers crossed and hoping it shows up in the store. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get, but overall, I do like the skin very much. I think just because it's difficult to get and not readily available, I'm going to put it in B tier. Championship skins are a little different than the world skins or player team skins, whatever you want to call them. I don't know exactly what to call them to differentiate the two, but this one was released to celebrate 2020. Wow, saying the word celebrate 2020 felt really gross, and I kind of want to move on from it. Similar to the Invictus gaming skins we looked at earlier, it costs $1,350 RP, is technically legacy, but you'll always be able to buy it around the time of the Worlds tournament. This one looks very sleek, very modern. It does a better job of a futuristic look for LeBlanc than her program one did. I especially like how her cloak looks like this spotlight. It's just very fun, very sparkly, very cool thing have done with it. Having her dressed up all in black with her hair tied up is also a very great look for her. No new emotes to speak of, but we do get a very cool looking recall complete with a whole stage, lights, a cheering audience, and a trophy to boot. We get new spell effects as well that continue to kick program LeBlanc's ass with these digital looking effects. It's worth noting that all of her skins have an indicator on her queue when it marks a target. They all look pretty distinct from each other, and they've been on screen if you were paying attention as well if you wanted to look at them. The skin is pretty good. The worst part is it's hard to get, so I think A tier is going to work for us. We get a very elegant look with her Debonair skin. She gets her red hair back, which is a good thing for me. I don't know about the rest of you. She has this collar now that kind of makes her look like a Venus flytrap, which is a little odd to me. She doesn't get any new emotes or anything, but she gets a new recall that has her summon her decoy to put on a performance for herself. Again, a million inappropriate jokes I want to make right now, but I'm trying to behave myself, so I'm not going to make them. There are some new spell effects here as well that use silver and green visuals to them, but nothing incredibly eye-catching or over the top. Again, this has more to do with LeBlanc's kit not having a ton of very flashy-looking abilities. What I will say about LeBlanc is that I think a lot of her skins are going to be a little more subjective, just because each individual is going to be looking at her skin and being like, oh, I like how she looks more with this one. So any tier list you look at when it comes to her skins is going to look pretty different from each other. So this is probably the most subjective tier list I've ever made when it came to these. I think we're going to be putting this one in B tier. So LeBlanc has 2 Halloween skins, so that's pretty cool. Now maybe it's just because I've let one too many goth girls ruin my life, but I do have a weakness for witches who look like they'd sacrifice my soul to their patron god or something, because I do like this skin. Now listen, I think I would have fun, at the very least, until the very end, which would probably be less fun, but still. I really like when Riot gives League of Legends champions witch-style skins, because all you have to really do is give them a witch's hat, and I'm going to be happy about it. Hell, LeBlanc already, with her joke, has her floating around on her staff, so it already kind of just works with the whole witchy vibe. Her collar now looks like bat wings, and I haven't mentioned it a lot, but when her passive pops, Decoy always gets a different color to it that you and your teammates can see. I really like this one in particular because your player character, LeBlanc, that you're controlling is purple, and the decoy is orange. It's very Halloween-y colors. They're very complementary colors. I think they just work really well together. Her spell effects use these colors as well as green, and there are lots of candles too, which, now that we're bringing up candles, it always reminds me of this particular meme here, or the many, many combinations that exist of it. Listen, at the end of the day, we all want a hot witch wife who wants to constantly perform spells and rituals on us. Or maybe I'm damaged and or traumatized. Who can really say? Probably a therapist? Anyway, enough of all that. If it wasn't obvious, I really enjoy the skin. Even despite the fact that it's a legacy skin, try not to panic about that because you're always going to be able to buy it around Halloween. As for a ranking though, I think we're going to go in A tier. So a few weeks ago, I covered Ari, and in that video, I kind of went on a bit of a tirade about these skins. Here's the thing about these. 60,000 RP is way too much for even a couple of skins. So buying a bundle that costs that much is pretty stupid. There are so many better things to spend that much money on, and I have a similar opinion on this skin that I had with the Ari one. This is the result of pure greed on Riot's part. It's really super not okay. It's very gross. I feel like Riot should be better than that, even though I know they're a multi-billion-dollar company and they won't be. Now, I'm not really playing League of Legends at the moment, but from what I could find online, you could get this skin as part of that same bundle or as part of a League Pass event, which is moderately more reasonable in my opinion. Because all that means is it required a lot of work and time spent into the game, which is, again, like I said, way more reasonable, and in my opinion, a better tactic when it comes to getting these really crazy prestige skins. So if I'm taking that into consideration, this is a much easier pill to swallow than the Ari one. But still, I think it's going to go into B tier because despite the obnoxious paywall that really holds the skin back, it is pretty good. LeBlanc looks really good with vampire colors on her. Her spell effects get a nice blend of red, black, and gold going on, which also looks great as well. I especially like these flower petal effects she gets when she uses her dash spell. She gets two chromas that are just as rare as the skin itself, but I'm more partial to the red and black normal version anyway. This one also gets a new recall, but still no new emotes. For as old a champion as LeBlanc is, she has never gotten a legendary skin, which I find very strange, actually. Maybe someday. I do think that at some point, eventually, every single champion in the game will have a legendary skin, and they should usually be their best skin. Anyway, like I said, B tier, it's good. I won't be as harsh as I was a few weeks ago. I still think these skins are some serious bullshit, though. Alright, well, thank you for listening to Past Alex for the last 15 minutes or so. This is 2 in the morning trying to get this video done for tomorrow version of Alex. So here we have no particular order at the moment. Everything placed into its tiers. S tier, Invictus Gaming, it's just my favorite. That's how S tier works. A tier, ordering these... Bewitching definitely goes to the top of A tier. It's my second favorite skin. I think it's phenomenal. Coven or Elderwood is tricky. But I think Championship is better than both of them. So I'm going to put that ahead in the tiers. I think Coven is better than Elderwood. So that's fine. B tier. Again, LeBlanc is so tricky to talk about. Because a lot of this is so subjective. Because it's just like, oh, what do you like? What do you like visually? Mistletoe LeBlanc is so good. She's so cute. She looks great. It's such a good looking skin. But can it really compete with everything else? I mean, because it's my tier list, I think the answer is just yes. But I don't know. We'll leave Mistletoe at the top. After that, it gets easier. Ravenborn is better than Prestige 1. Risen is probably better than the Prestige 1, just because they're both super shiny, rare, hard-to-get skins. And I think Debonair can stay at the bottom of B tier. Prestigious is all alone in C tier. I am tripping all over my words, because it's 2 in the morning. I think that's fine. Prestigious is great. She looks good. I feel similarly about Prestigious as I do with Mistletoe. But I needed something in C tier. Sometimes that's just how it goes. Her base skin being in D tier is how the rules of the skin tier list work. Program, it's just so disappointing. It's not bad. It's just, it could have been so much better. And the stupid, what is it called? Wicked LeBlanc? I just don't like it at all. I think it just doesn't work. But yeah, that's the tier list. That'll do. Anyway, if you're still here at the end of the video, or if you skipped ahead to see what the tiers are, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like it. Leave a comment telling me what horrible takes I have. By all means, I am willing to debate them in the comments. It should be a fun time. If you're new here, subscribe. And if you're not new here, hit the bell so you know when these videos come out. When these videos come out, I am being so much over all of my words. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.